A new season, a new jersey. I'm representing Bardiani, and I'll be taking on some world tour races this year, with the Giro d'Italia as my main goal. My season kicked off with the Trofeo Serra Tramontana, a Spanish stage race with a long climb at the end. I decided to try and get into the early breakaway. After 2 attempts, I made it, but we never got much separation. We were given a maximum of 3 minutes by Pogacar's men, and by the final climb, our lead was just 50 seconds, and we were quickly reeled in. The pace shot up, Pogacar attacked, and we didn't see him again until the finish line. The peloton was shattered, and I had to find my own rhythm, especially after being on the attack all day. On the descent, I managed to join a small group with Carapaz, and we sprinted for the line. Finishing 7th was a fantastic debut. Next up was a special one, my first ever World Tour race, the UAE Tour. It's mostly flat, but with 2 great mountain stages to look forward to. The first stage was flat but very windy. As someone who's not exactly a flat specialist, I got dropped with 30 kilometers to go. I thought my GC ambitions were over, but we managed to get back to the main group because the pace up front had completely stalled. The second stage was a flat team time trial. We're not specialists in this discipline, and we lost 1:22 to the winners, finishing last. Stage 3 offered no time to recover. It was a summit finish on Jebel Jais, a very tough climb. The pace was high. I hung in the peloton, just barely holding on. I was only able to accelerate in the final kilometer when I saw the finish line. Getting a 4th place in the stage was a great result. Almeida took the win. My performance on that climb put me 5th in the general classification. Stages 4, 5, and 6 were all flat sprint finishes. Penho dominated, winning 3 in a row. The final stage was another summit finish on the iconic Jebel Hafit. It was flat until the final climb. The hard work paid off. I timed my effort perfectly and didn't go too early. I saw I was closing in on the riders ahead of me. In the end, I just didn't have the power to get my wheel across the line before Almeida and Adrilla. But 3rd place was a brilliant result. I finished my first World Tour race in 5th place overall. After just 1 day of rest, I was off to the Gran Camino, a 5-day stage race with plenty of hills and climbing. The schedule was busy, and after this, I'd be heading back to Italy for Tirreno-Adriatico. Stage 1 was flat and uneventful. Stage 2 was slightly hillier, but not hard enough to create big gaps. I stayed calm and finished 7th on the uphill sprint. Grindley won his 2nd stage in a row. Stage 3 was a climb time trial, and I was really looking forward to it. My legs felt great, and I maintained a good cadence. I was fastest at every intermediate checkpoint, and, to my disbelief, I won the stage. My first victory for Bardiani. I took the lead in the general classification with 2 stages to go. Stage 4 was the Queen stage. I wanted to win the stage and solidify my lead. My team did an incredible job supporting me, with Magli staying with me until the final explosive attacks began. I tried to counter and even attack myself, but I couldn't get away. In the final sprint, I was unfortunately beaten. The final stage was a rolling one, but the toughest challenges were behind us. I was 23 seconds ahead of Plapp. But Plapp attacked, going all in for the overall victory. Luckily, I still had a very strong teammate, Cruz Martinez, who kept pushing to bring him back. But Plapp was just too strong. He won the stage, but did he take enough time for the overall? With a 10-second bonus, he did. I lost the general classification by a single second. It was a bitter pill to swallow, but Plapp was simply too strong. Just under a week later, my main goal for the spring was on the calendar. Tirreno-Adriatico, my 2nd World Tour race. The field was stacked, with riders like Van der Poel, Evenepoel, and Vingegaard competing. I started the race with a 38th place in the short flat time trial, losing 30 seconds to Evenepoel. Stages 2 and 3 were for the sprinters, with Groves and Milan taking the wins. Stage 4 finished on a short, steep climb. My legs felt awful and I was dropped. My hopes for a top 10 finish seemed gone. Evenepoel won the stage, with Vingegaard second. Stage 5 had a few hills in the final kilometers, but was otherwise flat. My legs felt much better and I even tried to attack, but I couldn't get away. Brennan won the sprint.
Stage 6 was the big one, a mountain stage with 2 brutal climbs in the finale, followed by a downhill finish. My plan to get in the early break didn't work, so I decided to wait and attack on the first climb. The pace was incredibly high, but I managed to stay with the lead group. On the descent, I saw my chance and attacked, building a 40-second lead. Then, the big guns, Vingegaard and Evenepoel, caught me. Vingegaard set a fierce pace and I managed to hold on. With 2 kilometers to go, Vingegaard and Evenepoel looked at each other and I thought, this is my moment. I attacked and didn't look back, but my legs exploded. I had gone past my limit. Vingegaard, Evenepoel, and then Buitrago all flew past me. I was relieved to reach the summit. I finished 4th in the stage, but I realized I should have held back a little. The final stage was a flat one for the sprinters. Thanks to my strong performance on the mountain stage, I finished 8th in the overall classification. A great top 10 result. The Milan-Torino was a cherry on top of this racing block, after which my focus would shift completely to the Giro d'Italia. The course had a tough, steep final climb. The field was strong, with Pogačar in attendance. On the first lap of the local circuit, he attacked from the bottom of the climb and rode solo to victory. My legs weren't at their best, and I was tired after 3 stage races in 2 weeks. When I hit the final climb, I was completely gassed, but everyone else was just as exhausted. I simply rode my own tempo, and when I looked back, everyone was gone. Without even expecting it, I found myself standing on the podium next to Pogačar, who shook my hand and congratulated me on my performance. My last race before the Giro was the 5-day Tour of the Alps, a race with a lot of climbing. Stage 1 was a short, hilly stage that didn't see much action. Blackmore won the sprint. Stage 2 had more climbs, but the finish was on a relatively easy one. I pushed the pace on the penultimate climb, and 14 of us remained. On the final climb's steepest section, there was an attack. I tried to follow, but it was a huge effort. Another attack came and I cracked, losing a minute. My legs felt good, but that last climb was more explosive, which isn't my strength. Stage 3 was about survival, and I had good legs. I tried to get away on the final hill, but the peloton wouldn't let me go. I was looking forward to the Queen's stage. Stage 4 was right up my alley. Long, difficult climbs. The final summit was 87 kilometers from the finish. I had lost some time, so I had to try something to move up in the GC. On the last climb, I had Marcelucci with me. I let him set the pace, and when he was done, I took over. When attacks came, I decided to ride my own tempo and try to chase them down. I had misread the road book. The final 2 kilometers of the climb were flat. My planned acceleration was now on the flats, but it worked. I was the first to start the descent, with the race leader on my wheel. I took the initiative on the descent and launched my sprint first. It was incredibly close, but I managed to win the stage. I knew I couldn't win the GC though. Going into the final stage, I was in second place, 1 minute and 5 behind Rivera. The course had a local circuit with a small climb on each lap. I planned to go all in on the last climb, but it wasn't hard enough to make a difference. I even tried to attack on the descent, but with no luck. Second place was still a fantastic result.
If you like this content, it would be amazing if you leave a comment and subscribe on my channel. I hope to see you back at the next episode.